Hey guys, I am going to show you how I would do some measurements for a tech pack on a couple of different garments. This one is going to be on a pair of pants. I use this book, the spec manual that I used when I was in school learning about this. I'm going to copy some things, some pages from this book and put them up on Blackboard for you guys to look at. But it kind of walks you through page by page and sort of garment by garment how to measure, shows some technical sketches, and then also shows their examples of how they do points of measure, all the different measurements listed, just tons and tons that you can take from, and then actually shows you step by step how to get these measurements. So I really love this book. It's super valuable information, but I'll go ahead and scan a lot of these pages and put them onto Blackboard for you. But it shows you again exactly where to take these measurements from. And then what's nice is that each number that it gives you, it corresponds with the line here. So you can see, oh, this is saying the knee circumference is number 10. So you can see knee circumference here, number 10. Really nice stuff with lots of details, how to do the pockets, how to do all the little details of the pants. So first we're going to set up our garment, lay it flat on a table so that you can get to it. Tape measure is really handy, obviously, if you have like a fabric tape measure like we have in the sewing lab. If you don't have one of these, if you have a ruler of some sort, you can still use that. I wouldn't usually just hold the ruler up to the garment. You really need something that's flexible. So you could use some string, you could use a ribbon, you could use some dental floss, you can use anything that you've got that is flexible and lying around. And what you could do is literally just say, you know, I could take my measurement, hold it up, and then I could measure that piece of ribbon, for example, like holding it up to the inches on my ruler and say, okay, that's the measurement, something like that. But ideally, if you have an actual measuring tape, that would be best to take your measurements from. So the first measurement that I'm going to go ahead and do is the waist measurement. So we can see I've got these laid out really flat here, but I'm going to get it a little bit closer. So measuring the actual waist is going to be up at the top, and you're just going to lay your garment really nice and flat and measure sort of from side to side, and you're really looking for super accuracy down to the 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch, 1/8 of an inch, whatever the case may be. So you're going to get that measurement there. You would also measure, let's get this out of the way, you could measure your outer leg or your outseam, and that's going to come from the very top on the outside all the way down to the bottom. In this case, mine is exactly 41 3/4 of an inch, and I'll record that. The inseam is the inner part of the leg. So I can come right here to where it's sewn together, where I see all 4 of those seams meeting right in the dead center at the crotch there. And I'll measure this all the way down to the bottom. And in that case, it's 31 inches. That would be the inseam on there. When I do the hip measurement, you're looking for the largest part of the hip, the widest part of the hip. Usually this is right across where the crotch hits, right here in the center. And I'm going to, again, lay my plants really nice and flat so I'm not spreading it any wider than it has to be, but kind of coming across right there at my hips. For example, with this measurement, it's the hips, so it's going to be wrapping all the way around. But on my front, I've got 18.5 inches that comes from one side to the next. What I'll do for my hip measurement is actually multiply that by 2. Imagine that I've taken my tape and wrapped it all the way around. So like a circle measurement that goes all the way around the hips. So that would be 37 inches is the total hip measurement, if that makes sense. What you could do even further to really explain exactly where this measurement is I'm hitting it right here, right? That's my spot that I've come across. So I could say this measurement is exactly 9.5 inches from the top waist. So then I know that's where I'm taking my hip measurement from. This point that's 9.5 inches down from the very top of the pair of pants. It's just another way to kind of give yourself a reference and make it really clear. Different measurements that you might also do on a pair of pants is the actual crotch measurement, and that's kind of going to determine sort of how high-waisted it is, right? And so again, this has a front and a back because, and I don't know if you can sort of see here, but where you've got all 4 pieces coming together, you've got a front leg here, a front leg here, and some of the back leg here, some of the back leg here. It's gonna come together and meet at the central crotch point. So I could measure from the top of my waist, very flat, down to this point where it is the front stops and where the back would begin. And that's exactly 10 3/4, right? So that would be my front crotch length right here. And to get the back, which will definitely be bigger because that's where your butt is, so that's gonna take up a lot more space, I could flip it around to the back and I could do the exact same thing. I come from the center and the top, I come all the way down, I just follow that seam really carefully with my tape, and this is where using like a ruler might be difficult, so you kind of need something flexible. And I come all the way around. I've got to kind of pick the fabric up in this case, come all the way around to the front, and that's actually 15 1/4 inches before it hits that seam again. So if you think about how that would fit on a body, what did I say it was? About 10 inches here in the front, but 5 extra inches allots for how much space your butt would take up in the back as it wraps around and it fills and gets bigger. So those are some basic pant measurements. Let me see if there's anything else that would be super complicated. On this case, it's got a button fly. You could show the button placement and how far apart the buttons are. It's got a pocket here. So you could talk about how far that drops down, your pocket top to your pocket bottom. It's got a waistband. The waistband is 1 3/4-ish inches. So you could talk about that. On the back, it's got pockets, and you could definitely show how far down that pocket is dropped from either the very top or from the bottom of the waistband where that comes down, something like that. On this pair of pants, it's a very wide leg at the bottom, so you might actually want to do, and on any pair of pants really, even if it was a tight leg, you'd want to go ahead and do that bottom measurement across. So this is, if I lay it flat, it's 10 1/2 inches. So again, I want to know what that total opening is all the way around. So I'm going to double it, and I'm going to say that's 21-inch opening at the bottom of the leg. It's a nice big wide leg, right? You could also do, like the example we just looked at, you could do the knee circumference and talk about the knee and how wide around that is. So you can kind of get an idea if this is a straight leg or if it tapers, comes in tight at the knee and then flares as it gets down to the bottom. You could talk about all those different details. And then again, with a pair of pants, I usually sort of come down, you can sort of see where the knee ends up being. You could come down a certain amount. You could talk about that. You could say, I've come down, 22 inches from the top. That's where I get my knee measurement. The more details you give, the better. It's just going to make it much easier for anyone to understand how you come up with the measurements of this garment, how they could rebuild it if they had to from scratch. So hopefully that's a little bit of help and information. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in my book here that's good to talk about for the pants. Let's see, we did the crotch measurement, and we talked about the width of the waist, the width of the hips, and the length of the legs. I say those are the big ones, and then the opening and the bottom. So I think those are the really big ones, and then you can just go through and see if any of these other measurements in the list apply to you.